Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Raphael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Raphael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Joey, thank you so much for joining me on Coaching Call. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing, Raphael?
Exceptional. Getting better every day, too.
Yeah. That's awesome. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse, right?
Right. Every day I need to improve. So I'm here so you help me improve, so you teach me some stuff. This is why I love this, because I get to talk to exceptional people who are making a difference in other people's lives. This is why Coaching Call was born.
That's awesome. And I love that it's such a blessing to get to have the impact in other people's lives with the works I do. And the same as what you're doing here. Mm-hmm. Isn't that such a inner rewarding feeling?
It's a great feeling, my friend.
Yeah.
Totally great. Before we get into what you're doing, how you're helping people, I want to know about little Joey. Were you a little, getting dirty, running around in the playground, jumping on trees, climbing them, jumping over fences, riding your bike? Tell us about where you grew up, who inspired you as well when you were young.
Absolutely. So I grew up outside of Detroit, right around, just on the outskirts of Detroit, Michigan. I was a mile and a half away. And there were five of us kids in the family, and my mom and dad were blue collar people who struggled and worked really hard and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, from an early age, I was breaking bones and getting stitches, and I always had this adventure side of me and stuff. And my dad really was my hero growing up. The way he was, and he worked so hard. He would take as much overtime as he could and things like that. And so did my mom. She was a court reporter, and she would work from the time we went to bed until we got up in the morning, and then she'd sleep while we were at school, which made it really rough for her on summer vacation. but really, and I grew up, I went to a Catholic school, and I was Catholic, and I did my very best to apply what I learned from that process and stuff. And one of the things, Raphael, from even growing up from probably 6, 7 years old, I knew something wasn't right with the way my family was. I knew that struggle and that constant anxiety and things like that wasn't right. And I had gone to some friend's house, and it didn't have that same environment there, but I didn't know what it was. But I remember at 9 years old thinking, man, something's not right here. I don't want to live like we live right now. Mm. But I carried all of that into my adulthood with the exact same things, with struggling financially. At some point, I realized that if something came easy to me, I felt like I did something wrong and I didn't deserve it. So it was that kind of thing that was, and nobody planned to teach me that, but it's just what I learned in that process of growing up. But in that, I had a great upbringing. I had great parents. We would go, camping every year in the Upper Peninsula with 7 people in a pop-up camper. and every year we'd get stuck, or the car would break down, or somebody would get lost in the forest, one of us, and there'd be the big search and rescue thing.
Oh my goodness.
It was a very adventurous upbringing and stuff,
Mm. Wow. Somebody would get lost, huh?
Yeah, literally, because we'd go out and get blueberries in the morning and bring them back. My mom would make pancakes with blueberries or something, and so somebody would always kind of wander off, forget where they were, and you'd have the rest of the other 6 of us searching for that person.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess nowadays we can put those Apple trackers on people, right?
We can.
The kids. Oh, Johnny's over there. Bobby's over there, right? That
I
would be,
remember like later on when, you know how they came out with like a dog leash and they came out with that for kids. I'm not a proponent of that. But when my mom first saw that, she said, man, I wish they had that 20 years ago.
when you look at people and they have their kids on a leash like that, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you gotta also remember it's like maybe that kid likes to wander and it's
Yeah.
safer for the kid, but it still doesn't look right, right?
Right. And with 5 of us kids and how we were with like, adventuresome, it probably would have made more sense to have shock collars. But I really did have a good upbringing. My dad took us fishing and hunting and taught us, different ways with Boy Scouts and things like that and stuff. And there was a lot of love in our house. There was just a lot of struggle.
Mm,
It took me a while into my adulthood to start straightening out my thinking, to start seeing that as what it was, where there was a lot of love and care and doing with each other and things like that. So,
mm. What was there a lot of yelling going on? Was there a lot of like, I guess, reprimanding?
oh yeah, there was, my mom was full Italian. And
Gotcha.
my dad was German. So when things got worked up, my dad would back away and go out to the movies by himself. And then my mom would have to vent.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we picked up on a lot of that and stuff. But it was just normal, when I look at it now, it's funny. And later on, before my mom and dad passed, we could joke about that
Right.
and like, like there's things with how my dad raised us 5 kids and then he had grandchildren. It was like, wait a minute. Why didn't you ever act like that with us?
It's very interesting that you say that because I've spoken on that topic so many times, and I think that what happens is second chance,
Yeah,
right?
it is. It is. And with our kids, like I have one son, I absolutely adore him. He's 20, he'll be 27 in a few days here. And I take more, not responsibility, but how he is for a long time reflected on me.
Mm,
What I mean? On the job I was doing as a parent. I
right.
think we as parents take that on like, we're going to determine whether they grow up and be positive people that, have impact and things like that, or whether they're going to grow up and be problematic and stuff. And it really, it plays a role in it, but every part of our life plays a role in our development.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I ask you about your childhood, because that's instrumental to who you are today, right?
Yes.
Because of the lessons you learned, what to do, what not to do, and maybe I do this because of that, right?
And Raphael, my real heart spot in what I do today comes from the fact of like my parents were such good people.
Mm,
They didn't have these tools available to them, and they did the best they could do. But
right.
there were so many years of their life that they struggled. And my dad just beat himself up working exhaustive hours in heavy equipment industry and things like that and stuff, operating and stuff. That it's like, man, I don't want anybody else to have to live like they did. And it started with, I don't want to live this way. And that's what started me out at 22 years old to start this journey that I've been on for 3+ decades now. It's like, I just felt this thing where I want to inspire, motivate, and lead people to live better lives, but I didn't know how to do it myself.
Right.
So as I started going into it and stepping into it and growing and stuff, then all of a sudden it became like, oh, I can help somebody, and people started showing up for me to help them and stuff. And what took me years to figure out in the conscious, subconscious, and shifting our patterns and paradigms and doing my clients achieve that now in weeks. And it's just so incredible to see it happen and the impact.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Who would you say as a teen? Five of you guys at home. Who was the oldest? Where were you? Where'd you fit in?
Yeah, so there were 5 of us. I had an older brother and then me, and then a younger brother, and then 2 sisters. So I was the second oldest. So my older brother is first child. So he got away with everything. And I always felt like I was picked on because everything was taken away based on what he did with it. And, you know what I mean? Didn't handle it right and stuff like that. And it was tougher being that way. And the funny thing about it is like all 5 of us were raised in the exact same home by the exact same parents. And all 5 of us have different conditioning programmed into us because it's based on our perceptions.
Yeah. That's what I was going to, earlier today, I did a podcast on where to sit, right? So imagine, in school, you had to sit most of the times back in the day based on the last name, or if the teacher was more, realistic, where she wanted the kids to sit. And so everything is perception. Where did you sit? Who did you, even at the dinner table, what side of the table did you sit on? Where did dad sit? Where did mom sit? So
yeah, I remember that. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. Because I sat to the right of my dad. Mm-hmm. And if you think about that, like sitting to the right, like the right-hand man type of a thing, that could be a really honorable position to have.
Yeah.
I always looked at it to where I was close enough for a backhand if I acted up. That was honestly my perception. So in our perceptions of those things, a classroom, once teachers got to know me some, they would always sit me somewhere else because I was a class clown and I've always loved making people laugh and goofing around and stuff like that. But if they put us even in alphabetical order, I would look at that and figure out a reason why it wasn't fair to me where I was sitting. Mm-hmm. And no matter where I was in life for a long time, life was unfair to me. So that's kind of where I come from with that kind of conditioning and mentality within me and such.
Oh yeah, it's so crazy how the little things affect us, right? And we don't know it.
Yeah.
But later on, like you didn't even realize, hey, wait a minute, I sat at the right side of my father, so I must have been like his right-hand man, right?
Well, I could have looked at it like that as you said that, and I was thinking because he said it, and it was like I've never looked at it like that until you just said that. But yeah, that could be a very, if you go back to biblical times and things like that, that person that sat there, that was a high honor position to sit.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't see it that way though.
This is why it's great to have a conversation with another person, because they may help you see different things, right? Yeah. This is why I believe in coaching so much, because guess what? I don't know what the back of my neck looks like, but you can tell me.
Yeah.
You can tell me.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way of saying that. The way I explain that to people is it's kind of like climbing Mount Everest. You can go out there and you can fill out the form and drop it when you're leaving, when you're coming back, drop it in the box and you can head off and just go. But how much more fun would it be? And how much safer would it be? And how much more would you get to see if you've done it with somebody who's done it over and over and stuff, that knows what to look for where you don't? They know what to look out for weather-wise. They know what areas to stay away from and all that. You could live through it I could live through it doing it on my own. But why not take a guide that's been through that process before? And the reason I work with a coach, like I always kid around, the best coaches have coaches. But the reason I do is they can help me see some things that my perceptions are skewed on, and they're not working towards my benefit, Raphael. Yeah, and they'll help me straighten that out.
So you and I would definitely get a guide if we went to the safari, wouldn't we?
Heck yeah, we would. Yeah. Although, because even together, it would be kind of like the blind leading the blind, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you had been through the safari and then we went, I'd have some confidence in that.
Right. But if neither one of us had been there, we need someone. We have each other's back. But what if we don't know what poison oak looks like, or poison ivy, or this or that?
Yes.
Or, you can't eat these berries, but you can eat these berries.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Absolutely. It could be life altering, the difference between those. And it's really the same thing here with the coaching. Is what I have found is we never get to repeat a single day of our life. Once it's gone, it's gone. And people will spend, because I did this myself, will spend so many years of their life trying to figure it out on their own, like they're supposed to do that, rather than iron sharpens iron, rather than reaching out to somebody who can help get there quicker. Then we get to live more of our life the way we want to live it.
Oh, yeah. Well, like when you said to me, how are you doing? I said exceptional and getting better every day, because that's the mentality. It's that that growth mindset, right?
Yes.
If I stay the same, how well, I mean, yeah, I can live the same. I can, go to my same job, take the same bus or take the same car and take come home, sit in front of the TV and do it again tomorrow. All of a sudden, I'm Bill Murray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 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 Groundhog Day.
That's it. Who wants to do
absolutely.
that? Right?
And I am really big into. I'm still love adventure. I have my pilot's license. I ride motorcycles. I just October of last year took my first launch off of a 2,000-foot mountaintop with nothing but me and a hang glider, and I did that because I had been afraid to do it before. So I went through the training and things like that, and I did my first launch. And what I realized, I thought I was afraid of heights. Once I left that mountaintop in the air, open air, it was just so incredible, Raphael. And what I realized is I'm not afraid of heights, I'm afraid of falling. So as we step into those things, as we expand our comfort zone, as we step outside of our conditioning, it's when life really gets exciting, fulfilling, and all of that.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing when you think of it that way, right? And I like the fact that you realize I'm not afraid of anything. I was just afraid of falling.
Yeah.
But now, what if the falling was just a misconception, a misidea, and then you really were just afraid of the unknown, right?
Yeah. Yes, and that was beautiful, Raphael. I was, when you said that about maybe it's not falling, I was thinking maybe it's hitting the ground. But you're absolutely right, and like the reality of our life, the whole entire reality of our life is make believe, because it's based on our perceptions. And at any time, whether it's financial struggle, whether it's building a business not getting it quick enough, whatever it is. All we have to do is shift our perceptions, and we literally change the reality of our life. When I stood up on that cliff the first time, and I had the hang glider and I had the clearance, and I walked 3 steps from the edge of this sharp ramp that you take 3 steps and you're in the air, I stood there, and everything inside of me was saying, go back, go back, go back. And then I said no, and I took 1, 2, 3, and I was in the air. And the fear dissipated instantly. And it was nothing but like the soaring excitement in my life. It was exhilarating. Now, what happened in that process is I expanded my comfort zone by taking that launch. So the second time I went up there, I was a little nervous, but I was on fire for that feeling of soaring like that again, more than anything fearful. Does that make sense?
Oh, well, I'm thinking the first one was a leap of faith.
It is.
The second one was a leap for joy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. And everyone after that, I think I have 7 so far, and everyone after that was more of that joy, until what happens is now that becomes our comfort zone, right? Jumping off a 2,000-foot ledge, doing a milk run down to the landing strip below and landing, that becomes our norm. And then the human condition is always like, okay, yeah, it's okay. But it no longer has the excitement it did initially. And that's a really good indicator that we're ready to grow and expand again. So now what I'll do is I have 3 more launches, and then I'll start practicing at getting lifts and soaring. And that's when they go up to like 10,000 feet in them and stuff like that. And so now I have that, and that's scary to me. There's fear in that.
Gotcha.
But that same process works in everything about life. It's such a great analogy, that the hang gliding, because it does. It works in our business. It works in relationships. It works in our time, money, freedom. It even works in living a balanced life and really enjoying the freedom that we're all working to get to.
Oh, yeah. Where do you live?
Right. I live in South Carolina now, up in the mountains, all the way to the northwest side of the state.
Okay. So you're not that far from New York. So I'm going to have to come out there and start hang gliding with you.
We'll meet in Chattanooga. I was just out there this past weekend.
Very cool. Very cool.
Absolutely, Raphael. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll set it
Listen,
up, set
I've
you up with
never
a
done
table.
it, but who am I going to go with? I'm going to go with somebody who's done it. That's
Well,
you, right?
yeah, but you're not going to get instructions from me. You're going to get
No,
it from
no,
the
of course
people who
not.
are
I'm going to get it
instructors.
from the coach.
But yeah, I mean, that's we'll set it up, and I'll set you up with your first tandem where they take you up. The instructor takes you up 3,000 feet with
Nice.
a ultralight plane, and they disconnect, and you just get to feel that feeling of just soaring. I mean, it's just so beautiful.
Oh yeah, the feeling has got to be beyond, right?
Yeah, and it's not real loud. All you hear is this from the wind. So it's not like, and you're just kind of floating back down to the earth.
If you hear squeaking, that's probably you yelling. I'm just kidding.
My first flight, you could hear me going, whoo!
So when we dive, now that we're talking about air, right? When we dive into something, I think that when you think about a pool, you don't dive in the shallow end because you're going to hit fast. So we dive into the deep end, and sometimes diving into the deep end is truly scary, but that's where the abundance is, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's where you're safest.
Yes. Yes. Yep. And you know what I find working with business clients or personal transformation, whatever it is, what I find is so many programs that I've been involved with as a client have taken me to the deep end and then kind of like, now go, and what I have found, because we have conditioning patterns, paradigms, things like that, I meet every client I work with where they are. And sometimes, Raphael, we'll get into the shallow end and start working to the deep end. And eventually, and not eventually, but quickly build up to diving into that deep end and getting all that abundance and all the, everything that's entailed with doing so. But I have found it's a mistake to take somebody right to the deep end and then force them to dive in.
Yeah. It's like what you said earlier about getting to the edge and go, whoa, maybe I got to go back. And that's that internal fear. But when we can let go and even go into the deep end and say, you know what? I'm okay. I've practiced. I'm ready for this. And it's that plunge, right? Yes. That flight, that faith. You have to have faith in what you believe in. You have to have faith in the people who are supporting you as well, right? So for me, this is why interviewing a coach is so important. And I know that you have where you have somebody can come in and they can get a 10-minute call with you because you allowed them to ask you questions to see if you resonate with them, right?
Sure.
Because to me, that's the key to working with somebody. Because I think for me personally, I know I resonate with most people, but I'm not 100% sure they're going to resonate with me. So I don't know if I want to work with everyone.
Yes.
But there's certain types of people I definitely want to work with. But certain people, I'm going to say, you know what? I think you're going to work with someone better. Here's a different coach. Let me guide you here. Sure. Let me guide you there. Because not everybody is going to fit into where I want to take them. Right.
Sure.
And I'm sure you do the same thing.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of businesses that'll come to me. There's realtors. I work a lot with like small business owners, and not the huge corporations, but small business owners and realtors. And I'll have a realtor that comes to me that's just killing it. I mean, they're top performer, top producer, and things like that and stuff. And they'll say, I just want to maintain this. And I'm not that guy for that. Just like the 28 years I spent in corporate America building territories, helping companies in bankruptcy back into profitability and stuff. I thrive on that. I thrive on that. Those big, achievements, those big results and things like that. So I'm great at helping a company. When I worked for a company that was $20 million and they wanted to go to $100 million and did that in a few years, like I love stuff like that. the bankruptcy thing, I love the challenge of it, but it really, really wore me down. The second company I helped go from bankruptcy. But I mean, it's just so, that's why I have these gray hairs and stuff here and stuff. It's such a hard life. Because I take it personal and stuff like that. So it's such a hard life. But so, yeah, I'll come across people who are business owners. They go, okay, so I've built from this to this, and now I just kind of want to maintain this. Like I'm the coach to help people get the big gains, to get to where you want to get to. And then you move forward from there and how you're going to maintain that, do minimal growth, 3 to 5% year over year, stuff like that. Like I'm the guy to get you 25 to 50% growth every year in a business. That's what I do. The other isn't what I do. And the reason I offer the 10-minute calls is you're absolutely right. So somebody can get to know me a little bit and see if if we jive and stuff like that, but also for me to get to know them. Because every person I work with, Raphael, I offer 100% money back guarantee. So if somebody works with me and they do their part and they show up and everything else, and if they don't get that growth or that change, whatever it is they're looking for that I help them to define up front, I shouldn't have their money for that.
Right. Agreed. Yeah.
So I like to make sure the people I'm selecting to work with that I fit for them and they fit for me. That's how I can guarantee a win-win across the board.
Right. It's a relationship, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So
Joey, tell me, who influenced you as a young man to go in the direction, if you recall? What day was there a moment in time that you said, wow, this is what I want to pursue? Because you did go into your other business, right? You were doing corporate America and everything else. Let's get into how you got into corporate America, and then we'll get into what made the shift to get out of it and do your own thing.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, when I was in my, I'm going to say early teens, and the first Rocky movie came out with Sylvester Stallone.
I was down the block. They filmed it down the block from my house.
Oh, really?
Part of it, in one of the big restaurants, and they closed the restaurant down. The streets were closed off, and we were kids. We were like trying to see. It was
yeah. Oh man, that movie really set my internal gears to what I wanted to experience in life. I didn't want to get into a boxing ring and stuff like that. Right. But life was like, every one of those bouts he had was life happening. It was just portrayed that way. And that has been all the way up through Balboa, has been like a growth for me as I proceed in my life. It's almost like I connect with that. And I'll be honest with you, Raphael, after Balboa, like I cried, like knowing that was probably going to be the last one and stuff. It really impacted me. Like, I feel like you're leaving me out here now to hang. But it was such a big thing. And then as I got into my adulthood and as I got out of high school and I went into the workforce and things like that, and it was blue collar because I was following, the conditioning I got from my dad, I came across a speaker. His name was Jack Boland. And I was 22 years old, and I don't remember what he said, but I just remember it like this flame igniting inside of me. Like each time Rocky would come back, in the fight and stuff like that and everything, from losing to start pounding and stuff. And it like this intense feeling that I wanted to spend my life inspiring, motivating, and leading people to live better lives. And that's where that started from. And that's when I became a student of the works I do today and all of the counseling and coaching and programs and books and everything else, where I became, and it's just been a continuation, and I've been really excited. But that conditioning within me was that a man gets a job, supports a family, and hopefully lives long enough to enjoy some retirement. I didn't know that conditioning was holding me limit to it, like imprisoning me to it. So I went from blue collar. I had an opportunity to get into white collar. I took that and I moved into it, and then I started growing, and then promotions started coming in. Each promotion I took it because it was what I was supposed to do, but it's never what I wanted to do. And so I went all the way up to a vice president of sales, building territories, running teams, helping companies, bankruptcy, all back in the profit, all of that. But I couldn't stand it. And probably about 12, 13 years ago, my dad passed away from cancer. And a year later, my mom passed away, and her whole thing was she had some ailments and stuff, but nothing that would have taken her life. She was just lovesick for my dad. She kept saying, I don't want to be alive without him. And she passed away in natural causes. and I found myself an orphan in corporate America, making all this money, having the title, all the stuff that comes with being a vice president, and I couldn't stand my life.
Mm.
And it was at that point when some of these tools started coming together, but I couldn't figure out what that connection was, why it's so hard to break away. And I read a book by Joseph Murphy, The Unconscious Mind. And that's when it came in about that program that's in our subconscious mind that keeps playing over and over. That's all of our conditioning, patterns, habits, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And once I understood that, it was like, that's what's holding me. And so I started learning and putting together tools. I worked with a coach who specialized in the subconscious mind and helped me to start making those shifts. Within a couple months of starting that, I created the IFGT coaching consulting business, the corporation. And the IFGT stands for It's Frickin' Go Time. And after waiting from 22 until my 40s to start it, it just made sense that that's what it would be. It's time to quit playing small and step out to get into that deep end. Not that I got to start in the deep end, but I got to get there quick, And then within 3 months of when I decided to go forward with this, before I even started the corporation, I resigned from corporate America. We got new owners, and I said, okay, I'm done now. And I moved. I was in Iowa at the time. I moved to South Carolina here, and I've been building the business. I do speaking. I've written a couple of books. I've been doing what I do, living in this passion ever since. And over the last decade, I wish I could say just over, but I'm just under helping 1,000 individual clients in their growth and to live better lives. And if you think about that with 100% money back guarantee and nobody's ever taken me up on it, you'll see why I am so excited about the results that people receive. It's just absolutely incredible. Absolutely.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I love the money back guarantee because it kind of gives people an idea, the concept that you're not full of it, that you are going to put the work in for them. You're going to truly invest in yourself, and you've already invested in yourself because you're investing in them. You're going to take the time to guide them to ensure that what you're promising is going to come to fruition, right?
Yeah. And not only have I invested that way, I've invested in multiple certifications that allow me to do what I do. I've invested in multiple coaching programs, which is how I learned about the importance of this money back guarantee. Is I've worked with coaches for tens of thousands of dollars to walk away at the end, realizing all they were trying to do is get me to be a mini me of what they've done, to take the ABC steps that they took. And whenever somebody runs into, I'll just say this out loud, whenever somebody runs into that and they're going to tell you their pathway of how they became successful, be aware of that, because not even 0.5% of people that follow somebody else's pathway achieve the same results that person did. What happens is that person identified their pathway to success and they did it and it worked really well. Where I differ from coaches is I don't tell people what I did and the actions I taken and the A, B's, and C's to get the D. I help them find and identify what those A, B, C's are. I help them develop systems of accelerating habits that include those things so it can bring about results quicker for them. And just as a really quick example, Raphael, I was working with a business owner who does wholesaling out of Ohio. And when I met him, he was doing like $34,000 a month revenue, and he was borrowing on a line of credit.
Oh, geez.
In doing so. And so I said, so what's your greatest? I help people develop what I call a dynamic vision. And I have vision road mapping tools to take through the map, the road mapping process of developing it. But then I work with them one-on-one. And so when he developed his vision, it was that he gets to $50,000 in revenue a month so that he doesn't have to borrow on his line of credit. So I know what's possible for us is way more than we can imagine when we're stuck in our current situations and circumstances. So within 4 months, he has now done at least $250,000 a month revenue consistently every single month since he's been doing it. And he's still kind of growing. He's having a little fluctuation, but he's right around that 250 number. And he's just ecstatic. He never thought he would be at that level in his business.
I know one thing for sure. I know one thing for sure. He loves you.
Yeah. and I love him as well. Yeah.
Of course, of
Yeah,
course.
but when you get to be like for me, when I get to be a part of that in somebody's life and I see them achieve so much more than they even thought was possible for them, and they get that like that spark of life of how big it can really be, I get to be a part of that and I get to see that happen in people's lives.
That
Oh
is
my God,
beautiful.
that to me is as close connection as I have with God is those moments like that.
Oh yeah. You know, when we can connect with someone and we can impart our knowledge and really bring them to probably where they didn't see themselves, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what a good coach does. They
Yes.
help them see themselves in a different light.
Yes. A
Because
bigger picture.
sometimes, you know, I can see that you're the kind of coach that goes, man, let me borrow your glasses for a minute. They're a little dirty. Let me clean them for you. Now put them on. Oh my God, I see everything now, right?
I love these analogies you got, Raphael. And
Yeah,
the excitement for me is when they put it back on and go, oh my God, it's a total different, when they get that breakthrough, that spark of that.
yeah. Is
Yeah.
that perspective we talked about, right? Where are you sitting in life? And you talked about the different stages of I guess, process of living,
Yes.
of doing, of being. That is what truly inspires me, as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I love is so many of us are taught that the current state of the economy, the money in our bank account, where we grew up, our education determines how far we can go in life. But one of the probably greatest discoveries I've found in my life is that subconscious conditioning is what's going to determine how far we get to go.
Mhm.
And the really cool thing about that is all we have to do is go in there and shift that, and it opens up to wider opportunities. The bad news, nobody can do that for us.
No.
We have to voluntarily step into that journey into that hero's journey for that to happen.
Did you just say hero's journey?
Yes.
Well, then I'm going to have to share this with you. Take a
All
look.
right.
Take a look.
Heroes Rising Apex is the highly anticipated business event of the year. This gathering of industry leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, and visionaries promises to be a game-changing experience that will inspire, educate, and provide networking opportunities. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of innovation, strategy, and collaboration as we embark on an unforgettable journey of learning, growth, and success. Join us in New York on July 14th through the 16th. Go to heroesrisingapex.com for tickets.
I had to write that down.
Don't worry about it. You're going to be there, my friend. Listen, but how funny is it that you talked about a
Awesome.
hero's
Oh my
journey?
God. Yeah.
Meanwhile, this is what I'm doing. You see, this is why we're connected, my friend.
It is. And we should just say that we didn't rehearse that at all.
Not a bit. Not a bit.
But it would almost play off that way, That was perfect. Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
When like-minded minds are, my gosh, it's called, to me, that's a mastermind, right? When we can collaborate, when we can build something, that is a beautiful thing. So definitely, I would love for you to be joining us in New York, July 13th through, for you, it's probably going to be 13th. For everybody else, it's going to be 14th through the 16th, because I'm going to want you to be a speaker as well.
Yeah. I'm marking my calendar.
Yeah. Mark your calendar and bring everybody.
All right. How awesome.
When we think about what you've accomplished for yourself, right? Because a lot of times people, they say, oh, that person's selfish. That person only cares about themselves. To a point, we have to do that, right? In order to bring ourselves out, excuse me, out of the ashes, if you will, right? We got to be that phoenix rising. So we need to sometimes reinvent ourselves. And sometimes we can do it alone. But man, isn't it better when we get the help? Because I've never seen a truly successful person get there on their own. They always, excuse me, I'm so excited about this, that's why I'm coughing over here. There's always someone in their life who inspires, motivates them, something, an occurrence, a theme, a person, a parent, a spouse, a child, an event, something always propels someone to rise, right?
Yes.
This is why I created Heroes Rising. And I know you're going to be on that show soon as well.
Awesome.
But Heroes Rising Apex is when we take the heroes to the top, right? We take them to the summit. But I believe every single person is a hero. They're just in waiting.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're not ready yet.
Yeah. And sometimes you said there's people and things like that can cause us, to do that rising, that Phoenix rising. Sometimes it could be circumstances and situations. For me, the financial side of it, the corporate America led me into abusing alcohol for some time before my mom and dad passed and stuff like that, and as a way to deal with that and stay in that and everything else. But I'm blessed for that today, because it eventually brought me to a pain point where I couldn't stand it anymore. My parents, losing both of my parents within a short time was really painful.
Oh, yeah.
But it led to that point of going, I don't want to live like this anymore. So I would look at something different.
Right.
And you talked about working with somebody. I have years. I mean, you figure from 22 to 58 years old that I've been doing this. There were a lot of years and times in there where I would go it alone and I'd get a book and I'd set up an experiment with it and how I was going to implement, and I'd go through all the practices, and I wouldn't get hardly anywhere in it, versus the times when I was aligned and working with the right person for me at that time in that stage of my life, and how quickly they could get me moving forward into how I get to live today. And it's not over. I still work with a coach today because I still have aspirations and I still have those things ahead of me. And, one of the things I tell people is we so often look at the precious moments of our life in the past, which is great to have memories, but as our best times of our life. But what if we really woke up every morning with the attitude that our best years are ahead of us, regardless of our age, regardless of anything else? How much more impact and how much more could we do in life, and how much more fulfilling could we experience, fulfillment could we experience living that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a choice.
It is a choice, Yeah. How do you wake up? Every morning when I wake up, I take one of those freezing shower things that people think I'm crazy.
Oh, you do? I do that in the summer, not in the winter months.
It's winter here. So, and we're coming out. We're into spring now. But for me, I do it every single day. It could be 3 days outside. I'm still taking a freezing shower because it wakes me not only up, but my whole body is like boom, and it hits me. It's a beautiful experience. And
now, did you start out doing that by putting out cold and then just getting in there? Or did you start out, like for me in the summer when I do that, I'll start with it warmer and then I'll turn the hot off little by little?
No, what I do is I lather up in warm water because I figure the cold water is going to take. So I don't do hot. I do warm, and then right away, right to cold.
There was a reason I asked you that question, Raphael.
Let's go.
Remember the deep water?
Mm-hmm.
So many people will try to take you down there and get you to dive into the deep water, right? But that process wouldn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
As it doesn't sound like it would work for you with the cold shower. So what I do is I get in there and I start with it, warm, not hot, but warm. And then I little by little turn off the cold until I eventually experience the cold, all cold. And then a few days later, I'll be able to get into the cold right off the bat. But I had to start where I started. So again, going back to that deep water, I have clients sometimes who start in the shallow end. I have clients sometimes who will start in the deep end, but they go feet first. And it's not a dive into it. And all of it is okay. So one of the things I just want to put out to your listeners here, wherever you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't judge it. Stay away from good or bad. And just start from there and move forward.
Yeah, because listen, if you jump into the shallow end, you should always jump feet first anyway.
You should. Yes, I agree.
Hey, but if you jump into the deep end, no matter how you jump, you could do a belly flop, you could do whatever it is, right? Feet first, dive in, doesn't matter. You can't stay there without the support of your limbs. You can't stay there without holding on because you
Yes.
will obviously drown. So this is, to me, your limbs are your coaches, your strength, your legs moving. Those are the facilities that are going to help you stay afloat and maybe go further, go deeper, get, and maybe sometimes you go from the deep end to the shallow end because there's different opportunities there, right?
Right. Right. And sometimes we have to go back to the shallow end to practice
Yeah.
some things to then go back to the, but and if we, again, if we stay away from judgment, it's the journey. And this is what, when I was talking about coaching and stuff like that, the journey is unique to the individual on the journey. Your journey will never look like mine. Mine will never look like anybody else's. So it's having somebody there who's got the experience and the tools to help us get the most out of that journey,
Right.
more so than becoming that person at the end.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You know,
Yeah.
when I had built my pool, I had a large pool. It was 40 feet long
Oh,
and
wow.
then 32 feet in an L shape. So it was a large pool.
Yeah.
The
That-
L shape was a workout pool. What
Okay.
that meant, it was 3.5 feet all the way along, so we can play games.
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
could play volleyball. So we could do
Volleyball
it.
net. Yes. Yep. Yep.
And
I'm picturing
so
it.
this way, we always, if you wanted to go on the diving board, you could, but it was separated. But
Yeah.
you can always go, and there's different opportunities in different areas, right?
Yes.
So every morning, I would take a swim, and there, it didn't matter. I didn't close my pool. In New York, I didn't close my pool immediately when everybody else was closing. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna take some nice cold swims in the morning, and it was
Ooh-wee.
amazing stuff.
Wow. Yeah. And I grew up with pools and had them myself and things like that. So I know what you mean. And one of my favorite things growing up used to be to go get in the pool in our skibbies and then just go climb into bed. You'd sleep so much cooler all night just being wet like that.
Yeah, I used to swim right before I went to sleep, and I used to wake up and go swimming. So,
Yeah. Nice.
but one of the things that I also want to talk about, you being noted as a top coach in the US, because you've been on so many different shows. You've been on what? Fox, CBS, NBC. And when people ask you to be on these shows, they don't ask you just because you're a good-looking guy. It's because your mind is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never been asked to do something for my looks. Yeah, I believe it's because of the experiences, the life that I've gotten to experience, and what I got out of that, and how I've used that. To be honest with you, like I was just this year will be the third year in a row when I've been selected. I've heard, yeah, but I just haven't seen it come out for a top coach for 2023 now. So it's 21, 22, and 23.
Wow,
But the
congratulations.
Thank you. The other thing I'm really, really excited about, Raphael, is between Christmas and New Year's, I was on the main marquee in Times Square for the SMT Method, which is a process I put together to help people quickly identify and shift that underlying conditioning and to get incredible results, as an outcome of that. So, yeah, I've had some true blessings with that, with reflecting my passion in the works I do.
Yeah. So the SMT, that's subconscious mindset training, right?
Yes. Yes.
When we think about training, right, a lot of people think that you have to be conscious, right? But one of the things that I personally do is this computer goes to work when I'm sleeping.
Yes.
because I intentionally ask for it.
But
I
what, yes,
program it.
yes. But what happens is it goes to work on, the conscious mind we have ownership of. We rule over our conscious mind. We determine what thoughts we entertain, the words we use, and how we talk about ourselves, the people we hang out with, TV, all of that stuff, what we read, all of that's in the conscious mind.
Right.
And what's happening in the subconscious is it's absorbing that, storing that, and then it just replays that over and over and over. So what happens with people, that voice we hear in our head, right? That so many people, it's negativity, and it's beating them up, and it's anti what they want, and everything else is telling them why they can't, because of fear, doubt, worry, or whatever, why they can't achieve what they're looking for. And what happens when you look at how they are consciously, they're focused on fear, doubt, and worry. And so they feed it. So you're absolutely right. I imagine the voice you hear in your head, Raphael, is pretty positive and pretty supportive in what you're doing. And that's because of where the conscious is at. The subconscious, we don't have a choice over. We don't control it at all. It just absorbs whatever the conscious is focused on. So if you look at somebody living in fear, doubt, and worry, I have to help them consciously make shifts to get into expansiveness, to get into ease, to get into freedom. In doing that, what we're doing is literally reprogramming our brain waves on the subconscious level to take on that new empowering story. And the subconscious is also responsible for triggering the brain waves on which actions we take and which we don't take. Mm-hmm. So can you see somebody that's, locked into conditioning of fear, doubt, and worry are not going to take so many of the actions that will help them get out of there, because it's triggering the brainwaves. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. Oh God, no, we can't do that.
Right.
And so shifting that, all of a sudden, that's how people come out of their shell, their comfort zone, and start stepping out and achieving more with less effort. Because from that mode of the subconscious, you not only have to come up with the conscious thoughts of what you want to do and the strategies and all the stuff that comes from here and stuff that's not always our best ally.
Right.
Is you have to overcome that conditioning to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're constantly fighting against the conditioning. When I tried doing this in my early 30s and come out with coaching and stuff, it just flopped. And the reason I ended up finding out is because my conditioning was locked that a man get a job, support a family, and hopefully live long enough to enjoy retirement. And that was the conditioning. I couldn't overcome that until I understood it, but I could quickly shift it once I understood that. Make sense?
I like what you said, to think about what you do after retirement.
Yeah.
Because so many people retire and then...
Man, yes, you're absolutely right. It can happen in a short period of time. And I love when somebody retires. I just talked to a gentleman this weekend. I was out in Chattanooga, and I love when you say, how's retirement? And they go, every day is like a Saturday. And I get that. And I love hearing people enjoy that. But what I've learned over the last, decade is that only lasts for maybe a year, maybe 18 months if they're traveling and stuff like that. And then it gets to be mundane.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to be almost like a trap that they're stuck in, where they're just existing. And if somebody doesn't do something about that to reignite that passion, or find, and this is one of the things I do with a lot of retired people in 12 weeks, is help them find what that is and move into doing so. It doesn't have to be another business. It doesn't have to be going back to work. It could be whatever. Fly fishing, one gentleman was,
right.
around the United States, but he got excited about that. And if we don't find that, then that means we no longer have desires. Yeah. And when we no longer have desires, we no longer need this body.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand.
It's like when somebody does retire and they go, well, what are you going to do? I'm going to play golf.
Yeah.
Really? Every day? 24/7? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do for real? Right?
Yes.
What are you really going to do? What inspires you to get up out of bed?
Yes. And there is a transition period I've noticed. When somebody first retires, there is that I'm going to play golf. I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to, and there's that period of transition that I don't think people should miss. because we work so hard to get to that retirement stage. I don't like it's for somebody to jump from there into the next thing and stuff. I've seen where that's caused people issues as well and such. So having that transition period, and whether it's 6 months or a year or whatever, and being in that phase and enjoying it. But what's going to happen, just like I tell people, you can't sit on the couch with a bag of potato chips all day, every day and feel good. You might be able to do that for a half a day or maybe even a weekend or a week. But at some point, it's not going to feel good anymore. So when you first retire, enjoy that. Let it feel good. But when it doesn't feel good anymore is when it's time to, step into that next phase of your becoming.
Joey, you're 1,000% right. You know why it's going to be impossible for me to retire?
Why is that?
I'd have to get a job first.
That was great. And I've been there. So living like this, people say, are you ever going to stop? No, I'll do this till the day I die. I have other avenues set up where I have a corporation where I will certify other coaches in the programs that I've created so that then they can help expand my footprint in the works that I've done with my life and doing it that way and stuff. And that's not happening right now, but it will at the right time. And so exactly what you're saying, it's like to continue living in that freedom.
Oh my gosh.
Of retirement, living my passion, just like you are.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I keep telling everybody when I grow up, I'm going to get a job. I promise.
Yeah. I would quit making that promise, Raphael.
Well, first I have to grow up, and that's never happening.
My son, like I said, he'll be 27 in a few days. And he says, Dad, I think I'm more mature than you are. And I go, I hope it stays that way forever. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But even people listening to this episode, and I've listened to some of your other episodes, and we've talked before and such, and the works you're doing are so incredible to so many people. So if somebody's listening to this and they get something out of it, it would be an act of love to share it with somebody else. And send it to a friend or a family member, somebody you work with, somebody that works for you or something, just to put it out there and expand this message so that it gets to the right people. Because I believe that everything works out exactly as it's supposed to. But just like we're talking about, we need people to expand that. You need, people are what's going to expand this message of these incredible works that you're doing, Raphael.
I appreciate everything you just said. That's very kind. Where do I send a check?
Yeah. I'm surprised that stumped me.
Joey, when you think about your life, and sometimes people have asked me this question, I figured, let me throw it your way. If there was something you can change, what would that be?
It's a great question. If you'd asked me that a decade or so ago,
it'd be a different answer.
I would list situations, circumstances that I wish hadn't happened and things like that. But I don't feel like that anymore, Raphael. I guess I would wish that I didn't let fear be so strong in my life. And I wish from a younger age, I would have believed in the power within me sooner. Yeah, that's what I wish.
You wish you'd be doing what you're doing now 10 years ago, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I think I needed to experience what I experienced in corporate and all that stuff, but just how Marianne Williamson has a quote that I absolutely love, and I never say it the right way, but she says that, we're not afraid of being powerless. That's not our fear. Our real fear is how powerful we really are. I wish I would have recognized more of that sooner. And honestly, the reason for it is I could have had I feel I could have had a bigger impact with more people's lives in this time frame doing so. But as I say that, I'm so gifted and blessed of getting to do that now at the size and level it's at.
And you'll be doing more of that in New York, right? when you
Yes,
come
sir. I
down.
am. I'm on fire for it. It's freaking go time.
You know, when we think about the impact that one person can have in the world, but also the fact that so many people say, well, one person can't change the world. And I totally used to believe that when I was a child. And then I realized if I change one person and that person changes another person and that one, and so on and so on and so on, then I did change the world.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a mentor. I love to empower someone to then for them to empower someone else and then on and on. And
Yes.
so like what you're doing, I love what you're doing because you're not just empowering one person at a time. You're empowering many, and many will empower even many more.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate
And,
that.
and Raphael, anybody listening to this, if you're breathing, you're impacting somebody's life with how you're living your life.
Mm,
And at some point I had to look and say, am I impacting it the way I want to? Or am I impacting it the way I don't want to? You know, my son, I told him from the time he was a teen, yet you learn from everyone. Some people you learn how you want to be and who you want to be and what you know, the things. And then other people you learn what you don't want to be, but you learn from everyone. And if
oh, yeah.
if we're breathing, we're impacting people's lives.
I've always said that even the people who have hurt me the most were my greatest coaches.
Great, absolutely. I'm called teachers, but yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without, I mean, I don't want to go into biblical. I am a ordained minister as well. I don't run a church, but I do guest speaking and stuff. But if you look at that, like the story of Jesus Christ, whether you believe it or not, but the story of Jesus Christ, he needed Judas in order to fulfill his role. He
Mhm.
needed that to happen. We need those things to happen in order to fulfill our life purpose, our life mission, our desires, whatever it may be.
Right.
But what happens is some of those things will happen and we'll be a victim and we'll build resentments and we'll live from that side of things. But if we look at that, and that's how I help people go from the dark night of the soul through their hero's journey into their own becoming, into their next becoming of their life, is taking those times like that and those people like that and understanding how they were a teacher and then utilizing that to launch.
Oh, yeah. Did you just say Hero's Journey again? I'm just going to have to play
I was
that
waiting.
again.
Go ahead.
Ready?
I'll sit back. I'll sit back.
Heroes Rising Apex is the highly anticipated business event of the year. This gathering of industry leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, and visionaries promises to be a game-changing experience that will inspire, educate, and provide networking opportunities. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of innovation, strategy, and collaboration as we embark on an unforgettable journey of learning, growth, and success. Join us in New York on July 14th through the 16th. Go to heroesrisingapex.com for tickets.
Joey, I think my favorite part of that commercial is the learning and the growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that commercial? Just curious.
Yeah. Just the opening of the avenue for expansion. It, like, even in the way it's done and everything else, it's like there's a knowing built into it that expansion is going to be a result of it. Yeah.
I love it.
Me too. Me too.
Well, I'm so happy that you're going to be part of it. And I know that we have, you're coming on Heroes Rising, the show itself, and you're coming to inspire us and teach us something really cool. Who would you say inspires you currently?
Oh, there's everybody. I would say everybody I come across inspires me. It's funny. Like, you're one of those people.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying me. I'm saying
No. Well, absolutely. I mean, all inspiration comes from there, right? That's our yeah, our intuition and all that imagination is all that is our direct link, but like, I was in Chattanooga this past weekend and I came across this person and I was, and they were they were just a real jerk. And I would use a different name for it, but, and in the past, I'd have gotten upset and angry and walked away from that and, maybe had some curse things to say about it and stuff like that. But I was like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you, because you're reminding me that I want to find people. I want to come across people who are friendly, people you can talk to as you're walking across the bridge in Chattanooga, and think that. Thank you for reminding me of that. And the rest of that day, I came across those people.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some people like Wallace Waddles. I love studying his works. Bob Proctor was a mentor of mine who's passed away now, but his works, and I mean, there's so many people that that I still continue to study and things like that.
I loved about Bob Proctor? That he read this book every day.
Yes.
Right?
Did you ever see the copy he carried with him?
I'm sorry?
The leather-bound copy he carried with him.
Oh.
It looked like an old Bible. Like he could just hold it from the outside and it just bent over. It was so beat up and stuff like that. God, if I could have gotten that, like, oh my God, that, whew. But I mean, there are so many people that, I come across and study and things like that. And some people I'll come across and I totally disagree with what they're presenting or how they're presenting it. Especially if it fits into the ABC to equal D type of a thing. But I still respect them for what they're doing there and how they're helping people and things like, trying to help people and stuff, because it could still get some happenings going on. And I just, but honestly, like you said, it starts with that. My first connection in the morning, my last connection at night is with God as I understand him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm taking a cold shower and I am praying. I wake up in gratitude. I go to sleep in gratitude. My last words, my first words are to God.
Yeah.
Every day without fail. And it's been like that my whole life. I don't know any other way.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Raphael, like one of the things I've realized is I'm not always on top. I'm not always energetic. There's times I'll be crabby. There's times I'll be ticked off or upset about, but what happens is they're such short-lived now where they used to consume my entire life, but it's not like I found this path and I'm just on this perfect, floating cloud and stuff like that. There's still upsets. There's still disappointments. There's still things like that, but I can use those to help guide me to what I do want, which then brings it about quicker.
Yeah. There's springboard, right?
Yes, exactly. Good word.
Good word.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great way to say that.
Oh my gosh. I am so happy you and I are connected. I mean, I feel the energy coming across the screen. You are magnetic, my friend. I can see that cape on you, by the way. You are a superhero for sure.
Yeah.
And, I am inspired. I am inspired by you. And I know that, you and I could probably talk for days, and I plan on doing that, by the way.
Good. Me too.
But I think that there's a lot of amazing things that you and I can probably collaborate on. We can talk with other people. We can do things because you, like me, are both looking to make a difference in the world. And for me, it's not the money. For me, it's about making a change that will affect my great, great, great grandchildren. It's about legacy. It's about doing something that 300 years from now, somebody will go, yeah, when Raphael said, or he did this and that, and it was because of this, right? So that's what I'm building. This is why I write every day. I journal. And everybody says, well, when's your books coming out? I probably written 90. And like Paul Masson says, when the time is right, right?
Yeah.
We will not sell any wine till the time is right. But I'm considering coming out with a couple of books at the end of the year or next year. I've had adversity in my life. And like I said, those are the biggest teachers I've had. They've shaped me. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am, right? Just
exactly.
like, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is there's blessings and gratitudes in everything.
Mm.
Sometimes we have to put a little bit of effort to find what they are. But in the worst things that happen, God will use it to bring about good. And there's good in it to help us grow and expand into whatever it is we desire to live in this life.
Yeah, beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that when somebody goes, you know, how's your day? I'm having a terrible day. Well, there's 24 hours in a day. Why do you have to have the rest of them be bad? Let the ones that just happen be bad, but let's move on from there. That's your springboard, right?
Yeah.
Let's move away from it. And maybe if it takes you another hour or two to get away from that ill feeling, to really start to say, you know what, I can turn my day around. I don't have to wait for tomorrow, right?
Yes. And one of the things is it's a lot harder to do that alone
Totally.
than to have somebody you can reach out to and say, hey, I'm stuck in this right now, and shift that. You know, a problem shared is a problem cut in half type of a thing. So I'm not saying it has to be a coach and stuff. They'll know the tools to move quickly, but not trying to do it alone.
Yeah. And talking to somebody. And it does, like you said, it doesn't have to be a coach. It could be a friend. It could be a spouse. You know, sometimes it's yourself. Look in the mirror and talk to yourself. I know you may look a little crazy, but it's okay.
I'm beyond the point of worried about that anymore, Raphael.
Yes, my friend, yes. Well, thank you again for being such an exceptional guest. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Don't go away. We're just going to say goodbye to everybody.
All right.
Everybody have an exceptional day. Thank you so much for being here with us.
And just remember, you're more powerful than what you may realize than what you realize you are.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, my friend.
God bless.
God bless you.